Hey guys, Max here from Cumana. Here to discuss uh, essentially the three types of SEO vendors that you'll encounter when you're vetting an SEO company and looking to hire someone. And essentially, frankly speaking, almost any vendor, any SEO firm, consultant that you encounter kind of, either was started by one of these guys or you're actually working with one of these guys. And um, they each have their own pet peeves, and they're all you can essentially profile them just because of where they are, what they've come from. So the first type of guy you'll run into is the career SEO guy. This is a person who is talented, understands SEO fundamentally speaking. I wouldn't call their knowledge topical because that would be unfair, but they're not the guy who's doing the raw research from an SEO standpoint on a daily basis. They know enough to be dangerous if they overestimate themselves, and most of the time they're a cog in a big agency. 20 years later, 10 years later, 5 years later, they'll become the head of the department, and eventually, if they stay there long enough and the agency doesn't fold, they might become a senior executive. They essentially make a career out of SEO, and their function isn't so much as to help you. It's you're there, you're a client, but they serve the agency, and obviously the agency is there to serve you, but in their mind, their goal is to keep you on as a client, service you to the extent that you stay with the agency and are satisfied. But they're definitely a 9 to 5 schlep. Uh, Nothing wrong with it, but they're a 9 to 5 schlep. So if you're looking for innovation, if you're looking for a partner, um, it's 50-50 at best. They're definitely more of a 9 to 5 office guy, and it's fine. You'll find this at a lot of the bigger firms out there, a lot of the Madison Avenue firms that are these 20, 30, 40, 50 man operations. You'll definitely find them filled with the career SEO guys who are there to collect a paycheck and to go home to their kids. Nothing wrong with it. That's just what it is, and that's what they do. The second type of person you'll run into is the SMB consultant. Here's a guy. He's got some entrepreneurial spirit, created his own business. He probably doesn't know SEO, no real basis, but he heard a few stories about what people were making in the SEO industry, whatever that means, in terms of financial gains, and he decided it was a good idea. He spent a year reading up all the forums. He jumped in, got a few clients, even did a good job by them, and really he's hit a dead end. His pricing is flexible, and he's probably a smaller operation, maybe 1 to 3 man operation. He pretty much does all the work with an account manager, uh, someone to answer the phone, whatever. Now, the issue that we normally see with this type of vendor is that most of the time he's going to appeal to startup and small, medium-sized businesses. You rarely will find a consultant like this, working with bigger brands. He doesn't have the firepower to really service them. He doesn't have the staff, and it's just a different league. And he doesn't have the experience to really talk to them on their level. He can talk to Bob the plumber just fine, and he'll sound savvy as well. But when it comes to bigger, sophisticated campaigns, the minute it involves more than just link building, the minute it involves social media, public relations, his expertise definitely runs out. And he'll charge a sweet price, very fair, and even in the first months, in the first few months, he'll actually do some great work. But he'll definitely hit a wall, and after 5 to 7 months, you'll pretty much be unsatisfied because the difference between where you were month 6 and month 8, very minimal. And this is typically the vendor that you go to when you have no SEO rankings. You want a baseline to get established. You need help from a vendor to help you get this baseline in place. But he's definitely the vendor before the vendor. He's the guy who helps you set up everything, get your Yelp profile in place, so on and so forth. But he's definitely not the guy who's going to take you to the pinnacle of your success. If you're a smaller business in a local area and you're just servicing that area and that's it, this guy will be perfect for you. Um, More than likely, you'll never really run into any issues because after he gets you there, he's not really doing more aggressive things. He's kind of just maintaining the baseline and coasting, which is fine. Typically, with a vendor like him, uh, you'll get into a regular pattern of things where you'll get the report and so on and so forth that'll validate your investment with him. Uh, his pricing won't probably change much at all, because of a variety of reasons. Realistically, if he tells you 1,500, a year later you'll still be paying 1,500, unless you ask for more service or more cities or more of something. But that's who he is, and eventually he will hit a wall because he's one discipline oriented. He never really understood the value of public relations, or if he does understand the value, he doesn't know how to execute and doesn't know how to bring that from here to down here to bring it into his daily workflow. The next one is the most interesting, and it's definitely the type of vendor everyone looks for, the type of consultant everyone looks for. But I'd say in the SEO industry, there's only a handful of them out there, and this is a person who experiments all the time when it comes to SEO. He's testing out SEO principles on his own websites. It's I wouldn't call him a mad scientist, but it wouldn't be too far of a stretch. He's definitely an entrepreneur at heart. He knows, he sees the big picture, and he can distill that big picture down to your level and customize that big picture, removing all the noise and bringing it down to the basics that as they pertain to you. And everything he talks about, it isn't about, hey, let's build 1,000 backlinks. It's about, let's create a plan of action that makes you money. Because what he'll do is he'll tie the money he makes from you directly into how much money he's making you, and he'll validate his request for a $5,000 retainer based on the fact that he made you 1.5 million last year, and he looks at and helping you make money as an opportunity for him to make more money, and everything he does is rooted in that. And frankly speaking, if you're lucky enough to run into this guy, and you probably won't find him, if you do find him, it's after he's already made it big, and he's probably not going to want to work with you because it's uninteresting for him. But this is the guy who everyone looks for. If you're one of his first clients, you're probably lucky, and he'll keep you around for a while until whatever. But eventually he'll stop working with clients altogether. Examples of people like this are Neil Patel, um, you know, people who just frankly do what they want to do now rather than what they need to do, which is paying bills. And frankly, if you run into one of them, knock on wood, stay with him, but it's very unlikely you'll run into one of them without paying an excessive price. There are a lot of them in the industry now. You'll see them at the conferences, but typically they don't really work with smaller businesses, and they really spend a lot of time consulting on an hourly basis or on a per retainer basis, where they'll be tapped by some larger companies to provide expertise and guidance, and kind of be more of an advisor rather than a grunt worker. So essentially in this video, what when you look at any SEO vendor, you should really look at them in this scope of who is he? Is he the career SEO guy? Am I talking to a guy at another firm who's one of 100? There's a lot of firms out there that are like that. In the legal industry, for example, Justia, FindLaw, LexisNexis, big agencies, big agencies. They have thousands of clients they're servicing at any time, and you kind of get stuck with just some mid-level cog. He'll probably do right by you, but at the end of the day, the agency is his best interest. Or you'll be with the SMB consultant, and when I say SMB, he pretty much is an SMB consultant, because the minute the game plan switches from, hey, we need to rank for a local city, to, hey, we need to rank nationally against Amazon or other national players, his skill set runs out pretty quickly. He just does not know how. If you said, hey, get me on Forbes.com as a quote, give me a quote on Forbes.com, he'd be like, what? How? Literally, maybe not to your face, but he probably shit a brick. uh, or he would probably end up, trying to figure out some sort of backdoor deal and fail in the process. I mean, there's a number of ways he would try, but it wouldn't work because his expertise is just not there. The entrepreneur is again, the guy who will be Mr. Fix It. He'll get you what you need. Um, Ideally, you should want to work with this guy. Um, Typically, he'll tell you more about your business from a marketing perspective than even you knew, even though you've got 10 years worth of experience. It's the guy who can finish your sentence after you start it. And quite frankly, probably the guy you want to work with. Whether you can actually get him is another issue, but these are essentially the three types of SEO vendors you'll encounter as you look for an SEO company, and each of them charge a different price. The career SEO guy is typically working at an agency, so his pricing is really what the agency wants to charge you, and the agency is going to charge you for a whole lot of things. They're going to charge you for project manager, account manager. Um, they're going to charge you for keeping the lights on, frankly, and very little of that spend actually goes to your project, in my opinion. I think a lot of that ends up just paying for, other campaigns and paying for, just their staff. I mean, many of these are big, monstrous corporations. So that's pretty much their pricing structure, to be honest with you. An SMB consultant, he'll probably charge you somewhere in the sweet spot of, he'll feel you out, try to figure out what you can afford to spend, and then try to figure out some sort of happy medium where he can, take home a margin of 30, 40, 50%, up to 60%, and be comfortable with it. And he's got a long-term perspective. He looks at, not the, hey, how much money am I going to make from this company next month or this month. He'll look at it, over the course of 8 months, how much money are we making from this business, and try to average it out. And he'll give you an average price. So somewhere between 800 to 2,500 is probably his comfort zone. He knows that if he charges you any more than that, again, depending on the size and scale of your business, he knows that, with greater spend comes greater accountability and transparency, and he knows he won't be able to cut that mustard when it comes. And the entrepreneur is the guy who's really transparent with you. He'll tell you exactly how much money he wants. He'll tell you where that money's going to get spent. Hey, I want 5,000 a month, of which every month I'm going to spend 1,000 soliciting, high value prospects like Forbes and Wall Street Journal. It's the guy who will tell you, what you're really hiring me for is my expertise and my know-how, and that's where the money really goes, as opposed to you're hiring me because I know all these vendors. What you're really paying him for is the fact that he knows how to get work done, and so I mean those are the three main vendors, types of consultants you should look out for, and what you should think about when working with them or thinking of working with them. So that's it for this video. Continue reading. If you're reading our SEO pricing guide, keep reading, and you'll see more of these videos that kind of accompany each of the different sections, giving you some insights as to, what to look for, what to think of, how to respond, and how to react to different things that you see in the SEO industry when looking at prices. And we'll see you guys soon.